Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. In today's video, we are going autumn again with some Jesmonite coasters. Now, if you don't have Jesmonite, you can use your Eco Pores, your H2O or your Resin Crete. I actually haven't tried this with those products. So if you have, please let me know in the comment section down below if you tried this and if it worked, because I've only done it with Jesmonite. I'm going to be using these utterly adorable stamps. We have a fox, an owl, a squirrel, and we've got this little cluster of acorns and leaves and pumpkins. So gorgeous. I'm also going to be using some of these leaves. You would have seen this leaf stamp in a previous video, but all of this screams autumn and fall, and I know those animals aren't just for autumn, they are all year round, but you know, anyway, we're going to be using some gold ink and some gold embossing powder to bring these coasters to life. The mold I'm using is the round coaster mold by Molds and Shapes. Again, everything linked below, including your 15% discount code for Homeware Design Co. They are the pigments I'm going to be using, and your 10% discount code for Molds and Shapes for all of your molds. Now, I have my mold laying on 2 pieces of paper. This is going to enable me to shimmy and shake it around, which is really important if you're using Jesmonite or Eco Pores. If I just put this mold down onto the wood or down onto my surface, it's just not going to move. I need it to be a slip and slide. So putting your Molds and Shapes molds down onto paper really does help. Now, I did just mention Homeware Design Co. These are the colours that I'm going to be using. And honestly, if you have not yet got your hands on your Homeware Design Co. pigments, they are next level pigments for Eco Pores. I particularly love them in Jesmonite. Some of you will know I've had them even kind of changing colour in a different product, but they don't do that with Jesmonite. They stay completely true, and these are the colours. We're going to be using the cinnamon, pumpkin spice, chocolate and the zen green. Now, here's the thing. I was just going to make 4 coasters, and then I thought, where's the fun in that? Let's change the colours. So every single coaster is going to be a completely different autumn colour. They are all going to scream autumn, but we're going to change the colour as we go just by adding more pigment into the exact same bowl. So we're not going to make 4 completely separate mixes, because who's got time for that? Definitely not me. First colour up is the Pumpkin Spice by Homeware Design Co. And into that, I'm just going to do a bit of a squirt of the cinnamon. Now, honestly, I love the pumpkin spice on its own, but I want to kind of dull it down and give it more of a warmer tone. The more pigment you add, the more intense the colour becomes. So I could add loads of that pumpkin spice and get a bright orange, a really bright, true pumpkin orange colour. However, that wasn't what I was going for here. I was going for a more kind of cozy autumn fall colour scheme. So that is a few dabs of the pumpkin spice and a little bit of the cinnamon. Now we're adding in some of the chocolate. We're going to really brown this up to give us another autumnal colour tone. All of this is, I'm just winging it, guys, here. I'm just winging it. I don't know what colour I'm going to get, but I know it's going to be autumn, because all of these colours are autumn. So you can't go wrong. Again, trust your gut, go with the flow. You know, again, you have creative license over whatever it is you create. So the second coaster is just like a darker shade of that first one, because we've added in some of the brown. Now, for the third and the fourth coaster, we're changing it again. We're adding in even more of that chocolate. We're going for an even darker brown. Now, you might just think these are just completely separate shades of brown, and you could you could be right. But I also think they are individually beautiful. They are, to me, completely different tones, different shades, different levels of warmth. So for me, it's working. It's totally working. But the fourth and final coaster, we're adding in some of the zen green. Now, if you've been with me a while, you'll know zen green is up there as my favorite color in the whole of the Homeware Design pigment range. This is now giving me a really dark, moody green, darker than a kind of army green, almost Is it? Maybe. Maybe it's an army green, but it's definitely a browny green, a gorgeous, moody, dark green. I had quite a lot of this Jesmonite left over, and honestly, that fourth coaster, that green, there was just a bit too much, so I did end up going in with a lollipop stick and just scraping the top off because, guys, it was starting to flow over the top. Now, if you are new to Jesmonite or if you are new to EcoPores, don't waste this, save it, spread it out on a plastic sheet and you can make yourself a ton of terrazzo. And that is exactly what I did with this gorgeous, gorgeous colour. And look how different it is. It's definitely more of a brown green here. So this is 30 to 40 minutes later and it's time to demold. Now I always flip mine upside down to demold backwards. I always find this is best because we all know that Jesmonite and EcoPores are fragile on the point of demold 30 minutes later. They're rock solid when they're fully cured, but at this point it's just better to be safe than sorry, especially with thin mixes like this. Now I didn't actually fill up my molds completely to the top because I didn't make that much Jesmonite. I wasn't sure if it was going to last. It probably would have done me fine. However, I didn't do it. So just to be safe, I didn't fill my molds completely to the top, which means we have this lip. We need to get rid of this lip. Very similar to epoxy resin. If you are an epoxy resin artist, you'll know about this lip. This lip is the lip that will hurt you if you don't sand it down. Now, I'm not worried about the bottoms of these. We're going to be finishing them off with some cork base. Next up, it was time to choose our patterns. What are we going to stamp on our autumn coasters to make sure that they are autumn coasters? Now, I have done this in the past. I've done this in previous videos you would have seen. And that's the beautiful thing about this kind of project. You can alter it to the seasons. You can alter it to be a Mother's Day, Father's Day, Grandparents' Day, Happy National Dog Day. You can literally alter this no matter what the season or the celebration, because a stamp is a stamp. And if you've got stamps for your 4th of July or Independence Day or, you know, Chinese New Year, it works regardless. So this method, you can take it and run with it, and it can be applicable to literally every single event you can possibly imagine throughout the entire year. But we are here in August on a really hot day doing autumn. It's really hot today, guys. I'm not even kidding. But listen, let's just fast forward 2 weeks. It's not long. It's not long. The first thing you want to do is stamp your image onto the Jesmonite and then pour your embossing powder down onto that image, shaking it off. Now, one of my amazing friends here, Ben, down in Australia, he did an incredible one of this for the Christmas in July. Go check it out. Go check out the Christmas in July collaboration. Ben, his name is, he did a beautiful Jesmonite embossing video, and he actually used a static cloth to prevent the embossing powder from sticking in places that we really didn't want it to stick. I need one of those. I really need one of those, and I need to start doing that because there were definitely areas here where the powder just was not coming off. It didn't really take away from the finish effect, but you can see it. You can definitely see it. So I would definitely do what Ben did and use an anti-static cloth to rub your Jesmonite or your EcoPore coasters before you stamp them and lay down your powder. Note to self, must buy one of those cloths. Once you have stamped your pattern and you are fully happy with all of the layout and where everything is, then it's time to heat them up with your embossing tool. Now, I use the exact same heat gun. This is actually an embossing heat gun, but I did kind of use it for resin and it is destroyed. You can see how destroyed it is, but just hover. Don't stay in one place. Hover in movements. So circular motions, keep your heat gun moving. Do not stay in one place. The reason I'm saying this is because it can change the color of your Jesmonite. I've learned this in a previous video and others, you know, many of you have learned this as well. If you stay in one place, it really can change the colour of your Jesmonite. It can heat it up too much. So move it around, keep it flowing until all of that embossing powder has completely liquidized and turned into your stunning embossed print. Next up we have the owl. I decided to just do the owl on his own, so you can make these as busy or as minimalist as you want. And it's here you can really see where the benefits would be if I used the anti-static cloth like Bended, because you can really see here all around the owl, you can see that gold kind of powder just sitting there. It really didn't want to come off. But the beautiful thing is that embossing powder won't emboss without the stamp. It won't like raise up and completely destroy the design, because it did need that stamp to hold on to it. So I wasn't worried too much about it. On the next one, oh my gosh, this little cluster of stamps. Now, I actually didn't realise that this acorn, pumpkin, leaf design was one. It's one stamp. It all came away together from the pack. And I thought, actually, that kind of works. We can do like a wallpaper pattern, like a recurring repeat pattern with this, and I thought that would look really, really cute. So I did, and I just carried on inking it, stamping it, inking it and stamping it until I was fully happy with the placement of everything. Again, you don't have to be too neat. Like, you know, you're the creator. You can pretty much stamp where you want to stamp. So I wasn't being I wasn't getting the ruler out, basically, is what I was saying. I wasn't getting the tape measure out to make sure that the recurring pattern was X amount of millimeters away from each other. I was just going with the flow, you know, handmade with love, not perfection. Same thing again. I dusted it with the embossing powder and just held my heat gun over, but slowly moving it around. And again, this part here is sped up for you. This is not real time. This is quite a process, and you don't really need to sit through it in real time. But in real time, I would say it takes anywhere from 1 minute to 2 minutes to fully have that embossing powder liquidized and have it come through and bring the coaster to life. Finally, the fox. This fox is so cute. There is something adorably adorable about this fox. Let me know which of the images from the 4 coasters is your favourite. This fox is just so cute. Like, I just want to give it a name. I know, Claire, seek help, I know. The owl, adorable. I love the cluster of leaves on the one on the right hand side, and I also love the wallpaper effect and the repeat pattern of that pumpkin, acorn and leaf print. And the mushrooms, of course, don't forget the mushrooms, they're in there as well. But the fox is so cute. Anyway, I did second coaster along. You'll see there are 2 dark lines. I wiped these coasters over with a wet wipe, and I kind of scratched them. I didn't mean to, but I used my nail. Don't ever do that. Okay, next day we are finishing them off. This is not the next day. This is directly after embossing. There's a whole array of sealers available out there. The Jesmonite acrylic sealer, Homeware Designs wax. We've got the Elechem sealer, the Resinate sealer. Really is up to you what sealer you use. But for these, I did decide to use the Jesmonite acrylic sealer. Now, first coat on this is 20% diluted. So 20% water to 80% of the Jesmonite acrylic sealer. And I still get questions on my sealing. I use cheap kitchen sponges, guys, cheap kitchen sponges. First coat, I will saturate. So I'll put a ton of that diluted sealer on the sponge, and I will just rub it all over my Jesmonite creation. And there are streaks. There are tons and tons of streaks, but we are going with the wax on, wax off method. I then grab a much bigger dry sponge and I rub it off again. I'm not being gentle when I do this. I'm being like really, I'm going in. Like, the first coat, you can be as gentle as you want. And I'm quite gentle with that first sealing coat. I'll just rub it in and make sure it's got all around and all the way to the edges and all of that jazz. But then when I come in with the dry sponge, I am attacking it. But I'm going in, like, really firmly rubbing it as hard as my hand will allow me to rub it. No streaks, guys. No streaks. And the reason I'm talking so much about this is because this is one of the biggest questions I get. Like, I get so many questions like, I'm using your method, I'm using the sponges, but it's not working for me, I'm still getting streaks. And I can only say, you need to really go in hard with that dry sponge wax off. And it might feel like you're taking off, but you're not. It's still on there. And of course, once you've done that with the second coat has to be neat. The same thing again with the neat. Go in, smother your piece, and then really go in with that dry brush. We're really, what's the word I'm looking for, guys? We're pressing hard. We're pressing firmly and we're pressing hard. And we're rubbing it like our life depends on it, okay? And we're rubbing it off. But we're not fully taking it off. Trust me. Try it. Just try it. Try it. And you'll get results like these. There are no streaks and they are fully waterproof. The sealer has worked. And yeah, I hope that helps. I feel like I went off a bit on the end there, but I need to get across just how firmly I'm doing it. And it always has worked for me. So please try again if it's not working for you. I hope you have loved these as much as me. Let me know, please, if you're still here. Not only let me know if you're still here, but let me know if you've tried this embossing technique with any other eco pour. So the Resincrete, the H2O, the Aqua Cast, Aqua Resin, all of those. Let me know if you've tried this technique with anything other than Jesmonite in the comment section down below so we can all help each other, because I've not tried it yet. I just love Jesmonite. But yes, please let me know if you've loved it as well, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.